right, so welcome to Sidewalk Chats, and then we got two special guests today. One of my favorite attorneys to my right, Theresa Coy St. Pierre. Is it St. Pierre Coy?
Man, Theresa Jean-Pierre Coy.
Jean-Pierre.
You got fancy with it.
I elevated you to sainthood.
I know, see, I'm a saint now. Coy is fine.
I elevated her to sainthood. St. Pierre,
cool.
and of course the famous Norman Harris. So, but and of course co-host Eddie Reyes, and our perpetual guest is Mike Giasi. Are you in it, Mike?
I don't know, but I'm fine. I'm okay.
We have to go.
Yes.
Maybe we can go this way, but then
I'm fine, honestly.
no.
I
we're
don't
not
want my
getting
head. There you go. There's Mikey.
Yeah, but then you're.
Yeah, my head.
Yeah.
All right. Well, okay, fine. Your head is like right
I'm
there.
fine.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Mikey's in it.
Okay.
I figured, you know what? Let's start with Theresa. Teresa's got a wonderful story. She's a wonderful mother, a wonderful wife, a wonderful lawyer. But she's got a lot. She's got a lot going on on a personal level. She gives back to the community like you wouldn't believe.
I hear about it. Yeah, definitely.
I know Eddie and I are busy, Mikey and I are busy, but when it comes to social causes, and just like Norman, we'll get to Norman in a minute, but there's just something special about Theresa. So let's start with Theresa first of all. Tell us where you're from, and what do you do for a living, and how'd you get to where you are?
Where I'm from.
Where you from? What do you do for a living?
That's a lot. Okay, so I'm.
But it's your life. You're good.
So I'm gonna start. I was born on August 1st. No, I'm just joking. But
Don't tell us the year.
I was born in Rochester, raised in Brooklyn.
Okay.
Moved over to Florida, finished half of high school in Florida, went to Florida A&M University in Tallahassee.
What was your major?
Political science and public administration. So I double majored in poli-sci and public admin.
Did you want to do like politics? Is that what it was, or?
No, somebody told me a long time ago, if you want to go to law school, you need to take political science.
I got you.
I didn't know that you could take any undergrad
Yeah,
degree
right.
before going to law school, because had I known that, I would have gotten my MBA. But that's a whole other story. Went to Stetson, where I met my now future, well, not future husband, my current husband,
Okay.
who's a prosecutor.
All right.
And
Great guy. Great guy.
we have a son together, and
He's a beautiful kid. He's,
Yeah.
he's a little bit of a ham. He's got everyone by the heart, I guess.
everybody
How old
loves
is your
that.
son?
He is 2.
He's old.
He's
Yeah,
adorable.
busy boy, I'm sure.
Very busy. His
Yeah.
name is Thaddeus, and he
Thaddeus.
is
Oh, Thaddeus,
awesome.
cool name.
Yeah.
I have a client.
Great
Thaddeus.
story. There's a great story that I wanted to get to about Thaddeus, but we'll get that in a minute. But go ahead. So, the reason it's funny he mentioned politics because almost everyone we've ever interviewed here had some political leaning, or thought about it and never went through it. But so, have you ever thought about it?
I have thought about it, and
But not going into it, right? It wasn't until later that.
Right, no, not going into it, but I think
Okay.
over the last few years I've actually thought about it. So I don't know. I might.
If you were to run, what do you think you may run for?
Yeah.
If you don't want to
Right, if
disclose
you're allowed
that
to say.
secret.
If not, we'll
If
keep
not,
it hush
hush,
hush.
hush.
I think I know the answer, but I think I'm
Yeah.
sworn to secrecy.
Sort of secrecy. Okay.
I won't say right now,
Yeah,
but
I think it's best not to.
within the
Alright.
next few years, by the 2024,
Nice. All right. Cool.
election season.
Well, I think you can count on all of us to help you, so that'll.
Yeah.
I'm all right. This is recorded, so I'm.
All right, yeah.
I'm
Play back the tape.
Right. Play it back. But no, but I want to asking about help. Let me talk about my Woman of the Year campaign. If I can.
Yeah, please.
So, in 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
And I was 37 at the time. And let me back up before then. So, Thaddeus, my son.
Yes.
He's 2 years old. I had suffered 6 prior miscarriages before I had
Oh
him.
my God.
Yeah.
So I got pregnant in 2016, and I thought he was going to be like my other pregnancies that,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to have
You almost
him.
felt like you lost hope. I
Right.
imagine.
Wow, so it's
that's-
kind of like I'm just going through this process again just to have
Wow.
another loss. And in January, he was supposed to be due in March.
Okay.
In January, I was hospitalized, so I figured here goes the process. We're gonna lose him again.
That's sad.
Make a long story short, he's 2 years old now,
Yeah,
so
that's-
obviously
yeah.
he is
Yeah.
my miracle baby.
Yeah.
10 months later, I found out that I had breast cancer. So I was diagnosed with
Oh my
stage
God.
3 inflammatory breast cancer. Went through everything. Went through chemo, radiation, a mastectomy. I'm still a patient at Moffitt. And so
Is it a remission now, or how?
yes,
Awesome.
yes, it is
Okay,
in
good.
remission. I say cancer-free because if you
Right.
do MRI and you can't find any detection, I'm cancer-free.
Yeah,
so I'm
awesome.
cancer-free.
That's amazing.
I still have to kind of go through some hormonal type therapies, obviously because of the type of breast cancer that I had. But I was presented with an opportunity to help raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society at an event. It's called the Man and Woman of the Year campaign. and essentially they pick 10 men and 10 women out the community, and it's kind of like a contest to see who's going to raise the most money for cancer,
awesome.
leukemia. So it's a 10-week fundraising event. It ends this Saturday. I have been hustling, as Brian knows. I've been hustling, trying to raise this money.
We're gonna get back to that in a second, but it's funny. She's got this unique thing where if you donate, she selects a gift. What do they call it?
Yeah, they call it a gift.
A gift, a GIF.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
GIF. I got you. Yeah,
That's unique to you, and so she has a different one. So I was waiting. What's mine gonna be? And it was actually some guy dressed nicely. I'm like, damn.
It was a nice one. It was
So you create the gift yourself?
Oh no, I'm not.
Oh,
that
no.
I
She
go
randomly-
and I find them, but I
Nice.
put a lot of work into finding.
I can
my
imagine.
That's really
gift.
cool.
It's pretty cool.
So mine was some guy dressed sharp, and I jokingly said, Raquel even said, my wife.
Well, when do you not dress sharp, bro?
Raquel, well, I appreciate
And
that.
it was that kind of gift. It was this guy just walking with a suit, and he's just like, Rico Suave, and I'm like, that's fine.
Yeah.
So even Raquel was my wife's like, damn, I wish. And so I quoted my wife. So, but all right, and again, we'll get to Norman in a second. But Theresa, you mentioned Thaddeus and you mentioned your breast cancer. So, and you and I were in the same building for how long? A couple of years?
Like 3 years.
3 years. So I think you may have already left when the cancer thing came in, but she was there during the miscarriages, and so, but she was such a brave woman.
That's a hard thing.
Absolutely.
I mean that.
But you couldn't
That's
tell.
amazing.
That's the beauty of it. And that's a compliment to you. You couldn't tell that she was. I don't know if you were. I'm sure you were suffering, but it didn't show. It didn't reflect in the way you handled your clients and the way you handled your practice. There were times you were not there, but it was it was understood. But you persevere. So that's the first thing that I give her credit.
And I think for everybody watching, that's an amazing story for a lot of women and families going through the struggle, because that's
right.
Well, thank you.
But then,
That's difficult.
so then when the breast cancer came in, but she faced it with such courage. My mother, God bless her, she died of cancer, and not that she wasn't courageous, but it seemed like she almost gave up. My mom gave up, and I'm not in any way faulting her. You could just tell that it had taken its toll, and I think she was done. But not Theresa. Teresa's like, I'm not done.
I had a baby. I had Thaddeus. I was like, I remember.
You got to fight for your son.
Yeah.
This is only the beginning for her.
That's awesome.
But she was brave enough, and if you look at some of the Moffitt Cancer campaign, there's pictures of her. She was like a spokesperson, right?
They've used my picture and me and Thaddeus, everyone. So
Yeah,
they'll send me an email and say, all right, we're using your photo for this today. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
That's awesome, bro.
They had a race downtown. I'm walking. They didn't give me notice about this one. I look up, and I'm literally on the side of the building, me and Lance Scriven. And I'm like, okay, this is awkward.
But it was, she had lost her hair, but she didn't care. There she was.
Me too.
And,
that's
true too. Yeah.
Joking.
You lost yours in the war, though, right?
the war of 1812.
Oh, but she faced it with such courage, and that's why I want people to see that, because we have a colleague, Danny Castillo, God bless him, he put up a hell of a fight, but he gave me courage, and in his times, and so I want people to see this and remember her and say, if Theresa could do it, what's her secret, how she do it, then I can do it, So, but at the end, so go ahead, finish your thought about the Women of the Year and the raising the money.
No, I'm pretty much.
No, and you mentioned about Cooley too. You were talking about Cooley as well, and
right. Well, yeah, and so I actually was approached about teaching a class at Cooley, so I taught this year. Was it? Yeah. What year am I in? 2019. Yeah. Right. So January, I taught negotiation skills at Cooley, which was
awesome.
An amazing experience. I enjoyed it.
And I'm sure you inspired people then.
Yeah,
sure
exactly.
It was like
somebody. I would have taken the class.
Yeah, it was great. And
cool,
the students they enjoyed it. They enjoyed having somebody who was out in the field practicing and doing everything. So it was an amazing experience, like to the point where I'm like, I want to teach them more. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, it was awesome.
It's funny how one thing leads you to the next, and then opens up a new channel for you.
Let me
That's
tell
amazing.
you, when he has to talk about a secret or whatever, I have no secret. My secret is God. So my secret is always going to stay. Listen, come on now, Norman. So, on that, I'm gonna just let Norman go ahead and go, because I could talk about that the whole hour.
But before that though, where can we donate or contribute to the is it the lymphoma?
Yeah, it's the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. I have to give you the link
Well, if you send me the link, I'll add it to the bottom of the link of the video, and then hopefully people can donate that way.
Yeah, that'd be great. And the deadline is this Saturday, May 18th. So,
yeah, but even if we don't,
even we can continue. I'm sure they won't turn away any money. So
but we can continue contributing, because I'm sure you know firsthand how it can help and it can save lives.
It absolutely can.
So
and
give me some of this for that. That's awesome.
Amazing.
Boom.
All right, cool.
But so before I forget, Norman, I'm sorry. There's a story where that you told me, and it kind of warmed my heart in a good way. I guess they were taking you away for some treatment, right? Thaddeus was there, and what did you tell again?
So, well, I actually was coming in. I was, I had just finished having my surgery, so they had to clear out the room with my family, and so they had me in the room. They took us out, and Thaddeus, he wasn't. If he's 2 now, he was a little bit over 1. Like, he just bust the door open.
Wow.
And he was like looking, couldn't speak, but like, where is my mama?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
When I tell you, he is who gave, people talk about me and courage, but he gave me the courage,
That's
and my
awesome.
husband, obviously, and family, but really, Thaddeus more so, because he can't take care of himself, and, you don't want your child.
But he went there like, what are you doing to my mom? Or where's my mom?
Yeah,
You're
like, where's my
demanding
mom?
to know.
What are you doing to my mommy? Like, that's the look. It's
awesome.
I have somebody took a picture of him from behind with it.
Right.
It's one of my favorite.
Great
favorite
picture
things.
from the rear, him opening the door, saying,
That's so cute.
Yeah, he's awesome.
That's a great picture. So, and he's a great, and I haven't met him yet, but I've only seen him grow up on Facebook.
I know,
so.
he needs to.
I will.
He needs to.
All right, so thank you
Norman.
for that. And then, of course, the second man of the hour, if you will, is the famous Norman.
Very well dressed too.
Yeah,
I might add.
always.
Very much. Every time I see him, it's on his.
Trying to keep up with this guy.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
I don't know about that, but thank you, though.
We're all in the same boat here.
It's funny. I learned from guys like Mike, and Mike learned from Frank Pellegrana.
Yeah.
We got to get on the show one day. So we all can trace who inspired us. But Norman, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where'd you grow up, and where'd you go to school, and all that?
Yeah, but let me first just say that Theresa has been such a great inspiration. And what she did not say is when she was going through with the health challenges, she was also the president of the Georgia Edgecombe Bar Association.
That's right.
And she never missed a beat.
Yeah.
And I have always admired her for that. Not to mention, had her own private practice. Both Theresa and Bryant, I've known you for a long time. I've always looked up to both of you as attorneys. So I just wanted to just put that out there. That's on my heart. But I grew up in Georgia. I like to say I had a very humble beginning. Born to parents that were relatively poor, came from poor family backgrounds. My dad lost his dad when he was like 4 or 5 years old. Grew up in the project. My mom, her dad, and his friends actually built their house. We called them shotgun houses back in the country. And both my parents were the first to get college degrees. And they had a very strong background in faith. So my parents emphasized 2 things in our house: faith and education. And I'm one of 7 siblings. one of 8. So I have 7 siblings, but I'm one of 8 children.
What number are you?
I am number 3 from the oldest.
Okay.
Wow.
I have older brother, older sister, and 3 younger brothers and 2 younger sisters. Yeah. I like to say this because a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a miracle child.
Really?
Okay, cool.
Yeah. My mom was pregnant with me. The doctors advised her to abort me, and took it a step further and told her that because it was too risky, they would not deliver me. So, because both my parents are persons of faith, they were and are rooted in the Pentecostal tradition. They said, well, my mom said, I'm just going to believe God and have my child. And they contacted what they call back in the country, I don't know if they still call it now these days, midwives.
Oh, yeah.
And so I was that child that was born at home through midwifery service. And I was a miracle baby.
Prematurely born or on time?
I was born on time. Matter of fact, I just had a birthday on the 14th of May.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's right.
a
That's
few days
yesterday.
ago.
Nice. Happy
That was
birthday.
yesterday,
Happy late
right?
birthday.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
You got pro. He's a pro.
I like that.
Yeah. He's like,
Yeah, you know.
yeah,
This guy, he needs his own show.
Yeah.
Actually, you watch him. He's on Facebook. Don't let him fool you either.
I've
He's
seen
got his little niche with his music. We'll get to the music in a minute. But go ahead. Finish
yeah,
up.
so I was a miracle child, and I grew up, and that story was told to me over and over by my parents that you are the child that was the miracle child.
Awesome.
And I grew up in Manchester, which is a small rural town in Georgia, less than 4,000 residents, and it very limited opportunity. But I, along with my siblings, we all believe that we can dream big in small places.
That's amazing.
And so that's what we did.
Yeah.
And there were
quote, by the way. Dream big and small play. I love that.
Yeah, that's
yeah, and although there were no minority attorneys in that area. For some reason, I always wanted to be a lawyer, but quite frankly, I didn't think that I could be because of the limited exposure. I always say exposure determines expectation. And so my expectation was very small based on the exposure that I had in that community. But, my parents kept emphasizing faith in education. And
you said you were one of the first to go to college, right? So they didn't go to college themselves, right?
No, each one of my parents was the first to go to college in their family.
I got you. What was their major? What did they major in?
Well, my dad majored in English with undergrad and got a master's in education. And my mom, last year, got her doctorate.
Nice.
And this is interesting thing.
That is awesome.
I love that.
It took her a number of years to get her BA because she got married in her late teens, 19, and started having babies. And I remember me and my older siblings would go with her to the library when she was studying for her AA, I think it was at the time. And so over the course of years, she got her AA, she got her BA, then she went and got her master's, and as recent as last year, she got a doctorate.
So, okay, if you don't mind me asking, I don't want to review your mom's age, but I
kind of want to know, actually.
I know.
Because that's inspiring.
Well, no, look, I told you, he started at 31, his undergrad.
31,
right, at 31.
31.
Here I am at 51, hopefully a new chapter in my life at 51. So if you don't mind me asking, your mom, can I ask? Am I allowed to ask? How old is she now that she got
63.
63.
63 getting a doctorate.
And I remember when she first started the doctorate program, I was a young attorney, but she would send me her assignments every week to edit. And so when she got her degree, I was like, we got our PhD degree.
Yeah.
Awesome. See, man, I love that.
And that's good because a lot of people, once they hit over like 25, they're like, oh, it's too late.
It's
They're
too late.
like, what do you mean it's too late?
It's never too late, man. Never give up, man. So, and I said this to you before the show. I want people to see this and say, God, it's never too late. I got so many of my Facebook friends, clients. God, I wish I'd done this, and then do it. It's not too late, man.
Exactly.
All right, so good. So now,
What do you think drove your parents to go to college? Because I love that. I think it's great, and I think you look at that and you realize how that's impacted you and all of your brothers and sisters. So I think I love stuff like that. So have they ever told you, hey, this is what drove us to
Oh, we're good. Thank you.
to strive for that education? Because I mean, obviously, a master's and a doctorate, that's a big feat.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, I love it, and I wonder if they've ever shared with you why they were so determined. Because I love that determination.
I think their humble beginnings motivated them to press forward for better.
I can understand that.
And that's one thing. And another thing, I think it was just a match made in heaven when my parents met, because I think they really encouraged each other.
Yeah, it sounds like they were both. That's awesome.
Yeah, and as I forestated, I think faith played a very, very significant role in at least the support system that kind of gave them the driving force to push forward. And it was they always came, faith and education came as a pair, like peanut butter and jelly, hand in glove.
But not only that, so we're talking the South, right? Georgia.
Yep.
50s, 1950s. Things were not that great back then.
Yeah.
Right? So you had that, right? I'm sure.
Right.
I remember I met, you guys know, God, I can't remember his name. He was telling me how he grew up in Georgia. God, you guys, I can't remember his name, but how, no, not Delano, but that's the way. I want to talk to him about Delano. In fact, I got to speak to him the other day. Delano, sort of like his Franklin LeGrand is Delano Stewart, by the way. Love Delano. No,
my buddy.
Great guy, man. He does a lot of stuff in Orlando, Lakeland. He's a single dad with a kid. But he was telling me growing up that sometimes he'd walk, just go from his home to his school, because he's a little older, and he had to endure threats, racist comments on the way to school, and there was always that fear, but it didn't stop him from going to school.
Yeah.
But he had to endure that every day growing up, and then eventually got his undergrad, his high school and so forth. But so I would only imagine you had everything you just talked about. So
Did you face that during that time, or
Any racism?
Yeah.
I always tell people I was fortunate not to experience racism directly.
Okay, good.
And in part probably because my dad, he's a pastor, and he started a Christian school, and I attended a private Christian school, which means that I didn't get exposed to a lot of what others might have experienced in the public setting. I remember my first day in college, it was like almost like a culture shock, because for the first time I was out in an academic setting that was much broader than the confinements of my education upbringing in the private Christian school. But my dad tells the story, and we just as kids thought it was funny, but he tells the story about when he was a kid and growing up and went to a restaurant, and when he went in, he was told, "I'm sorry, we don't serve niggers here." Wow. And my dad had a little smart mouth, and he was like, "Well, that's just great because I don't want to order one." But he knew he had to run. He said that and took off running.
Yeah. That guy was probably like, that shock.
Yeah.
That's great.
But that's the only story that my dad has told that I can remember that reflects his direct encounter with racism. Although I know that he experienced more, but he didn't. It was interesting. He didn't want to just share a lot of that with us. He just wanted to encourage us to maximize who we were and to be able to go out in the world and make a difference and get along with everybody. And that's kind of what has influenced my approach.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Tell me about law school and what motivated you to become a
I'm not
lawyer?
sure if I have enough time to talk about law school.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a journey.
Because I still want to talk to you about your musical aspirations and your ministry, because I've seen you preach, so we'll get to that in a minute. But okay, tell us a story about law school. Why was it such a journey?
Well, first of all, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer, but I didn't, as I stated earlier, I just didn't think it could happen for me because of the lack of exposure with minority attorneys and lack of mentorship in that area. And most African-American professionals in that area were either school teachers, preachers, or morticians. As a matter of fact, when I went to college, my dad encouraged me to take educational classes, to think about being a teacher, as he did my other siblings, because he had a sincere interest in us succeeding, and he didn't want us to attempt to do something and fail, and so he was just kind of very cautious about that. But
you are kind of like a teacher because you do the ministry and things like that, correct?
Right.
So you are teaching the word.
Right.
And you're educating your clients on different issues as well.
Yeah, that's it. Because what I've learned is education is a part of almost everything.
I agree.
Yeah, but my dad, he was a high school teacher. My mom area was early childhood education, so they were really into the public school system, and just felt like that would have been a safe aspiration. Yeah. But I've always wanted to be a lawyer. And so when I went to undergrad, I majored in English and minored in philosophy and religion. And I didn't have the courage to apply for law school when I graduated. My dad's a pastor. My oldest brother is a preacher, and he had gone to seminary. So I just applied to go to seminary. And I applied to go to seminary, the Candler School of Theology at Emory University. And when I got accepted, I was excited, we going to Emory. So, but that began to build confidence. And I successfully made it through that program. And then by that time, I'm thinking, I've always wanted to be a lawyer. Let me take the step. I made it through undergrad. I applied to Emory and made it through the master's program. So I had the confidence to apply for law school. And I applied, and I better apply to about 10 just to keep my... So I applied to 10, and I actually got accepted. I think it was 8 of the 10, which was surprising to me. So I chose to go to Mercer University School of Law. After my first semester, the academic dean called me in along with some others and was like, we don't think you're gonna make it through the program. You're not the only one. We having the same conversation with some other students. So we're giving y'all the option to just, make a decision get the program so you won't be put out the program at the end of the academic year. And I remember saying, well, I'll be put out. I'm not going to just...
Yeah.
And so at the end of my first year, I was like a few points below the the GPA average that was required, which I think was like a 77, 78. And they put me out. And a lot of people don't know that. But they put me out. And I remember I was doing my first internship in Connecticut at an entertainment law firm. And I got the news, and I was just floored. But while I was doing my first internship, I was communicating with Mercer all summer long. And a long story short, somehow I got back in the program, and I started that fall as a second-year student, because if I was put out, I would have had to sit out a year, reapply, and start all over. Come to find out, well, one of the professors had forgot to put some points on a major class, constitutional law, and long story short, it worked out where I got back in the program. And that academic dean came to me and was like, she had been there for 15 years. She had never seen that happen before. Never seen that happen before. So I got back in the program, and I knew I had to work a whole lot harder than I did my first year.
Like you said, faith and education.
Yeah.
That's when the faith came in.
And we've said this before, don't sorry to interrupt, but there's no failure. There's stumbling, you stumble, you fall down, but you get back up,
you
man.
learn from it.
You learn from it. But there's no failure, man. I try to teach my kids that there's no failure. Dad, I didn't pass. Well, okay, well then just do it better the next time, but don't give up.
The failure would have been quitting. And they said, hey, you can step out now. You're like, I'm out. Failure would have been, hey, that's someone not trying to get back in.
Right.
So I think, I love it because that is life. We're all going to get thrown stuff on our way. There's times we can just say, I give up. I mean, at any point in time, we can all say that for a number of reasons. So I love both of you guys. Just continue on. Just pushing forward. Screw your life. I'm here. I'm gonna make my way. That's it. And that's wonderful. I love that.
Right. And I take time to say that now, because sometimes people see where you are today.
Yeah, they don't know the story.
They don't know the story behind the glory.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know it's kind of preachery. There was a story behind the glory. So, and I say that to encourage people.
You know what though? But for me, it makes victory that much better. It tastes so much better because you know what we went through.
Yeah, you had to work for it. Yeah,
you can sit back and enjoy the fruits of what you've earned.
It wasn't given to you.
Right.
Nothing worthwhile is given to you.
That's right.
Because you took it for granted. So I completely understand that. So we have to work for everything.
Tell, especially like, other people when, they have like get rich quick schemes or trying to do things the easy way. It's like, take your time, What's that song that says, take your time,
Go ahead on the same, Theresa.
No, seriously, it's like, take your time. It will come. You can't compare yourself against other people and watch what they're doing.
Right.
So you just kind of have to take your time. So that's awesome. I didn't know that about you.
15 minutes.
Yeah. Okay, can we say goodbye real quick?
No. Yeah, I'll come right back. You can spray my view.
Okay. All right, so he's got courts. We're gonna have to probably wrap up, which is sad because I could go on forever. So two things. I like to end one. We'll start with you, only because Norman. We'll end with you, Theresa. Words of advice to the young kids out there listening, or young people who don't know what they want to do in life. I think you've already hit it on the head with faith and education. But anything else you can encourage a young viewer to say, I want to do that, or even someone my age who wants to, move forward? What do you recommend?
Well, I say look beyond current situations and dare to pursue dreams and aspirations, and have a strong support system. Mine is faith. I recognize everybody's my spiritual persuasion is Christianity. I recognize that's not everybody, but whatever it is, allow faith to be a part of your journey.
I agree with that.
And have a strong support system of friends who can support your efforts and encourage you to do things that will not detain you or derail, but to encourage and support your dreams.
I love it.
Yeah.
Right. I echo obviously everything that Norman says, and I'm a firm believer that everything will always work out. Always. I don't care what it is, what it may look like. Everything will always always work out. It's kind of like you said earlier. Even if it's what you might think is a failure, it's really not. I've gone through different things. I know I meet students who, take the bar and then they don't pass and they get discouraged. I knew a gentleman who, when I started law school, he was studying for the bar. This was in 2002. He may have taken the bar probably 6 or 7 times since. But you know what? If you call him now, you call him lawyer. So, I mean, I don't care how many times it took him. He's now an attorney, so don't give up. Keep on moving. And like you said, you got to surround yourself by people who will motivate you and support you. And if you're the smartest person in your group, you got to get in the group.
Right. That's why I hang around Bryant.
And that's why I hang around Bryant. That's why I hang around
you know what? We gotta. I would love to have Delano Stewart here, man. Because he's got.
You need more than an hour.
Oh,
So much. I love this.
Delano, he and I were on the phone, and Delano was in the background. I had to speak to Delano, and God bless him, man. And how old is he?
He's about 84, I believe.
And there's no stopping Delano, man. I remember the last time Delano and I talked, he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to Times Square for New Year's Eve." I go, Delano, he was with a cane. I'm like, Delano, you sure? Yeah, this cane ain't gonna stop me. And let me tell you, he went, had a blast, and he said, Camareno, when are we gonna go? I said, let's do it. So we got to plan that, man.
Yeah, he was the lawyer that introduced me to the court.
That's awesome.
The very first time as a lawyer, I went in court. I went with Mr. Stewart.
I know you got to go, so let's do our closing remark, and then we got to talk. Next time we'll talk about music and.
Yeah. Sorry, it's after 15 minutes, so I got to hurry up.
No, you're fine.
Teresa, Norman, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Salute, man.